Welcome back. This is Around the Crown. We're talking all things Sacramento Kings and beyond. Join the royal family by hitting that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, you might as well smash up that like button. Calvin, Felipe's got a question for you. What level of player you think the Kings can trade for if we give a top 5 pick Holmes and Davion Mitchell?
I mean, a top 5 pick and those two guys should be able to get you a really, really good player in return, I would think.
It depends on who's available.
It depends on who's available, and I also am not so sure that the Kings are going to end up with the 5th pick or a top 5 pick. But if you're in there, you should be able to get a pretty good player, I would think.
Yeah, it takes two to tango. That's true for any trade. You know, a lot of Kings fans like to talk about trades, right? And I like to as well. We talk about trades, we talk about the draft. And the reason that is because we don't really have a chance in free agency. Like I was just talking about Zach LaVine. Like free agents simply don't come to Sacramento. The Kings have to draft players. They have to trade for players. That has been the way that they've been able to bring talent here. Very limited talent, but that's the only way they've been able to bring talent here. Now, unless De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis both make the All-Star team next season and they are looking like the next Shaq and Kobe or some kind of futuristic tandem, I don't see many free agents putting Sacramento on the top of their list. However, Sacramento has been used in the past for leverage for other teams, and we talked about it on a couple podcasts ago. This Kings team has over $20 million in cap space. So there's not a lot of other teams in the NBA that currently have that much cap space. The Kings can even clear more as well. So there are possibilities as far as trades, but it comes down to who's available. If you were to ask me who I would like to trade those guys for, I mean, that's easy. A Bradley Beal. I'd be happy with a Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I mean, you're expecting or you're trying to get an all-star in return for that, I think, for sure.
I really like John Collins a lot.
I don't know if that's realistic or not, those players.
I really like John Collins a lot, but I don't think I'm giving up this much for John Collins. I'm probably going to try and keep Davion Mitchell. Maybe I give up the pick in Richaun Holmes or the pick in potentially Harrison Barnes, and maybe I can get another young player back.
The other thing is when you have that high of a draft pick, too, you generally wait until the draft gets a lot closer, if not draft day, because as that time goes on, it changes, what a lot of teams are trying to do. Some teams are trying to move up into the top 5. Other guys become available. So, if the Kings were to land in that top 5, I don't think you would see anything happen right away. We wouldn't know whether or not they were going to make a deal involving that type of package probably until, right up to the draft.
I love Siakam, Felipe. I would be totally happy to bring in Siakam for those 3 assets. But like I said, it just comes down to the fact
I would definitely do that too.
If he's available. If he is available. But I think Siakam would fit this team perfectly. I really do. Sass, we're not good at, Sean, we're not good at shooting, but you already knew that. Sass wants to know, Calvin, why we don't try Jones as the power forward. I've talked about this for a while. I would love to put Damian Jones at the power forward. I think he could play and fit well next to Sabonis. That's been a need for the Kings for a long time here as a productive 4. I know Damian Jones doesn't have the resume that some of these other guys do, but I like his defensive versatility. I like some of the things I've seen from him on offense. I'd be happy to put him in the starting 5. How do you feel?
I'm not so sure I like it. I just don't think that Damian Jones is good enough to guard, or not good enough, is athletic enough or quick enough, has good enough foot speed to guard what a lot of power forwards look like in the NBA today. And then offensively, he's going to be near the basket a lot. He's going to take area or space away from Sabonis. He's not a good enough outside shooter to kind of stick out, and be a stretch for. I think it would be good for the Kings in their interior defense for sure. And they certainly couldn't do any worse than what the power forward position has been for them all season long. But I'm not totally sold on that, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you in the fact that I think Jones is a better half court fit for this Kings roster. But as far as like the pace and space that they really want to run, I don't know if Damian Jones is that guy, or maybe he is that guy, but he's not that guy with Sabonis on the court. Like, I think he needs to be on the court with maybe 4 other guys that are running and gunning, which would put him on the bench. Metu and Lyles aren't good options. I mean, Lyles played incredible. Lyles had a better game 2 games ago than Damian Jones has had all season.
I think Damian Jones had a 23-point game, if I can remember correctly.
Not 26.
Well, Lyles didn't have 26.
I think it was 26.
It was 22, I think.
22? Okay.
Either way, I mean, very close.
Buddha, I really hope Jones gets another contract. That would be great. Jim says,
I like Damian Jones a lot. I do think that there's a spot for him on this team. I just don't really see playing him as a power forward is all.
Jim said, would you guys trade it if we got the number 1 pick?
Depends on what I'm getting back. I mean, that's right.
But your answer wasn't no.
No, it's
right?
not. It's never no.
If Zion was number 1, you're saying no, right? If Anthony Davis was the number 1 prospect, you're saying no,
yeah,
right?
I mean, I don't think that there is one of those type of generational players in this draft. No. So, you would definitely listen to what's available, but I'm gonna expect a lot back in return if I'm trading the number 1 pick. Definitely.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty consistent on this channel. Definitely more consistent than the Kings have been in the fact that it doesn't matter who's getting traded or what's getting traded. Nobody is off the table for us as long as you're improving the team. And I think that goes for any player on this team, and I think that goes for the number 1 pick as well.
Yeah.
If I'm Monty and I look at the number 1 pick and I'm like, okay, is this guy ready to win now? Because
there's some players that I really like in this draft too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had the number 1 pick, that's why it would take a lot, and I would really have to strongly think and consider whatever the deal was, because I like Jabari Smith a lot, and I think he would fit in really well on this team. Chet Holmgren is another guy that's great. Banchero. There's a few players here that I think could be really, really good for the Kings. It's not maybe they're not as win now type players as getting a trade going for somebody else. But there's some guys that could really, really fit nicely with this team.
That's what I was going to say too. The win now guys is if you're taking the number 1 guy, you're probably kicking that playoff can down the road a little bit more, which, maybe Fox and Sabonis is enough to make it to the playoffs next year. Maybe it's enough to make it to the play-in next year. I'm not really sure, but, players that are drafted are usually not ready to perform right away. And it's a learning curve. They're younger, they're learning, they're developing their body. It usually takes a couple years before you see these guys make a big leap.
Yeah, it's a big step up to get for everything. You're playing twice as many games. The competition, obviously, the speed, the strength, the size of the NBA game. It's a huge, huge step up for everybody.
Yeah. Would you trade number 1 for Tyrese Halliburton?
No.
There you go. You heard it here first, guys. Alex has an excellent point here, and I actually forgot about Donovan Mitchell, but I love Donovan a lot, and I've heard about this. Supposedly, he's having some weird things going on with the team. His question is, what does a trade look like for him? I'm done thinking we'll ever be good defensively. LOL, I'm down to just score a bunch and see what happens.
Well, Donovan Mitchell is a good two-way player. I mean, he'll play defense.
Yeah.
So I love Donovan Mitchell.
He locks up that 2 spot.
Shooting guard or power forward. Those are the 2 areas where the Kings could really upgrade. If you're able to get one of those top-tier players at either position, there's no question. You take it, I would say.
Yeah, Sass is right here. Can you imagine the poor play-by-play guys if Donovan and Davion Mitchell were on the floor together? Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, Barry knows that very well.
Yeah.
He struggled with it.
I called Donovan Mitchell, Davion Mitchell, probably the first couple podcasts that we had. People were making fun of me and all that. I don't care. But, yeah, that would be funny. But, no, I would love to have Donovan Mitchell on this team. I'm giving up anybody not named Fox. I mean, if it took Fox to get him, I'd probably do it. But
I would consider that.
ideally, if I don't give up Fox and I don't give up Sabonis, I don't care what else it takes. It's a win. Because those three guys together, I am 100% confident I'll bet the house on making the playoffs with those three guys.
Yeah, that would be a really good start.
And I don't have a house to
really,
bet.
Really good start. Yeah.
But yeah, those guys would. Yeah, you're right. Kings don't have a top 5 pick yet. Yeah, they just won another game. So, I mean, I don't really know what to say at this point for the Kings. They need, it's almost like we're at the trade deadline again, right? Where we're like, the Kings need to choose a lane. They need to figure out what they're doing. Well, they decided they were going to compete. They're still losing games, but now they're still competing again. You know, the Kings are currently 24-41 on the season. They are tied with San Antonio in the wins column, but they are 3 games back in the loss column.
Yep. And look, Monty McNair, whether or not you agreed with the decision to trade Tyrese Haliburton, he got a deal done at the trade deadline that brought an all-star to this team and didn't give away any draft pick. So from that perspective, you know, maybe you have a little bit of faith in him this offseason that even if the Kings do end up winning a few of these games here at the stretch, maybe they make the play-in tournament, maybe they just miss it, and they don't end up with a top 5 pick. You know, there's at least some evidence now that would suggest Monty can still make some type of impactful move given the situation.
Yeah, I got more good news for you, Calvin. The Lakers are currently down 29 points right now to the Clippers.
Man, talk about a team that is imploding.
In the third quarter. So if they lose tonight, they will officially be 27-35 on the season. The Kings are still 6 losses ahead of or behind, however you want to say it. They have 6 more losses than the Lakers. Yeah. And how many games do we have left now?
I think 17.
17 games. So, I mean, there is time. You know, HB said in his press conference yesterday that it's, you know, or sorry, it was Sabonis yesterday that said that the ball is in their hands. They play the Pelicans again next week. He knows they lost to them last night, but it's not over. You know, like, I don't know if it will be officially over until maybe a week or two before the play-in. It could go down to the last game. It really could. But
we'll see.
The Kings have to be more consistent. They have to play better. They can't continue doing this win 1, lose 2, lose 3. They got to go on a run here.
They have to get hot and win a bunch of games in a row.
Yeah.
There's no way around that.
And the schedule's not getting any easier. Yeah. It's not. I think they actually have one of the toughest schedules to finish out the season and a ton of games on the road.
It's up there. It's not one of the top like 4 or 5 toughest, I think, but it's hard.
All right, let's see here. Sorry, I'm reading through the chat. Do you think the Kings will make 27 wins this year?
Well, we all thought it was going to be more than 36. So
yeah. Luckily, I won on my Rams bets. Otherwise, I would be definitely behind there. But yeah, I think they could win two more games. Jeff, why not?
Yeah, I mean, as bad as they've looked at times this year, you would have to think that 2 wins is not too much to ask for in 17 games.
Alex said if we can get Donovan without giving up Sabonis or Fox, we're going to Sizzler and he's paying. That's awesome. I haven't been to Sizzler in a long time.
Me neither.
But I heard their margaritas are great.
Never had a margarita at Sizzler's.
Yeah, I haven't either. I just heard a lot of things. If the Lakers end up losing top 10, if the Lakers end up being top 10 in draft picks, do they lose it to New Orleans? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know what that pick was protected by. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I want to say no, but
have you saw all the things that are like the Lakers need to trade Anthony Davis. If they don't make the playoffs this season, they need to trade him. I saw like a mock trade of
people are now saying they should trade both him and LeBron.
I saw a mock trade of Anthony Davis for Jaylen Brown. How do you feel about that?
Man, I don't know. I'd have to think about that more. I mean, I love both players. I know everybody really hates Anthony Davis right now because he can't stay healthy, but
So
the guy is one of the best players in the league.
the Lakers pick that they sent to the Pelicans was top 8 protected last year, and it becomes unprotected in 2022.
Oh man, Charlie, that's a tough one.
They conveyed the pick last year, right? I think they did.
That's what I thought.
So
but
they
I don't
can't trade consecutive picks. So I
Yeah.
think the Lakers have their own pick this season, and then it's unprotected pick swap in 2023, an unprotected first in 2024, and an unprotected pick swap in 2025. So I believe that the Lakers do have their draft pick this year, and you know, with the Lakers' luck, it's probably going to be the number 2 overall pick because they just seem to always get the number 2 overall pick when they miss the playoffs.
Yeah, them or Cleveland.
I just can't count how many
Charlie
guys.
says, "Would you trade a top 5 pick for Tyler Hero?"
How is Tyler doing? I know he started off
He's
really hot.
Oh, he's stayed hot the whole year. I think he's still averaging right around 21 points a game off the bench. He's going to be the unanimous 6th man. He's had a fantastic season.
I would trade the top if I had a top 5 pick. Now this is not top 3. This is not number 1. But if I had top 5, meaning 4 or 5, I would trade that pick for any guy that I think is young on a good contract, has a lot of potential, and is a starting level shooting guard or power forward that fits a need for Sacramento. And Tyler Hero falls right in that spot.
Yeah,
So
I would put him next to De'Aaron Fox. I think that would work very well.
So he's averaging 20 points a game this season on 43% from the field, 38% from three-point range. And he's got some swagger too. I like Tyler Hero a lot, and I would definitely rock one of those jerseys too. I actually tried to get a Tyler Hero Miami jersey last year, but they were sold out. You know, those like neon ones.
Yeah, the
those
City
were,
Edition.
Those were pretty dope.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Pretty dope. Did you end up watching that Phoenix Jones video yesterday?
No, I did not.
Vinny, did you watch it? No. You guys, did any of you
of
guys
you
watch
guys?
Phoenix
Yeah.
Jones? We talk about heroes.
Barry needs somebody to talk about Phoenix Jones with. So.
We started talking about heroes, so I'm thinking of superheroes. If you guys have not heard Phoenix Jones, go look him up on YouTube. He is crazy, man. The only real superhero. I guess there's like 300 superheroes in the United States walking around with costumes on, but he's the real legit one, like ex-MMA fighter.
He's the real legit
He
one.
fights crime in Seattle, so don't commit a crime in Seattle or you're going to pay the price. Come on, stick a fork in it. It's done. Pray for top 3 pick.
It's going to require a bunch of praying. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, see the problem with that is there's a draft lottery, right? So even if you have the worst record in the NBA, if you have the absolute worst record in the entire league, which at this point is what? You have Orlando and Houston are both tied at 15 wins. Because they changed the rules around, you still are more likely to get the 4th pick than you are to get 1, 2, or 3. So
Yeah.
if you're Sacramento and you have, let's say, the 5th worst record in the league, you're more likely to stay in that or get leapfrogged by somebody else and end up at like 7, 8, 9 than you are to move up to 1, 2, or 3. So the Kings need to get lucky here. And I don't know. They need to do something.
Yeah, I mean, so much of that is out of their control, right? It's where the ping pong balls fall, and you still have 17 games left to determine what the final odds and record will be. So we're just gonna have to wait to see how the Kings finish out the year. And Charlie, I like Jaden Ivey a lot too. I don't know. I mean, the Kings are so bad defensively, and he would really help that right away. I think he's a better defender right now than Tyler Hero is. But Tyler Hero is a much more polished offensive player, much better shooter. So that's a tough call. I like both of those guys. I think the Kings, I would rather see the Kings make a move that got a proven player.
Yeah.
If they're unable to get a deal done and they end up with one of these high draft picks and you land a guy like Jaden Ivey or Paolo Banchero or any of those, the top, 5 or 6 players considered in this draft, I'll still be okay with that because I think there are some good players that they could use. But I would, at this point rather see the Kings try to accelerate their winning ability right now by going out and acquiring a win-ready player.
And not only that, but they need a guy that can get his own shot. Like, that's something Tyler Hero can definitely do. You know, you see this Kings team go through, like look at last night's game. They go through these spurts where they just can't get a bucket. And you look at this roster, yeah, there's a lot of talent on this roster, but how many of these guys can actually go out and get a bucket, right? Like, how many guys on this Kings team can you really say, all right, we've missed the last 10 shots in a row. We need a bucket on this play. We're giving it to this guy. There's not a lot of guys on this team that can actually do that. And I feel like Tyler Hero is a guy that can do that. So I'm all in for him. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I like Tyler Hero. I like guys that, that can get their own shot and make space for themselves. And that's what this Kings team needs if they're going to take another step to make the playoffs. Defense is great. Rebounding's great. All those things are great. But I think you're going to have a bigger impact on this team bringing in a guy that can get his own shot and get something than a guy that can lock one person down on defense, because we've seen the Kings lock down one guy and then the other 5 guys get double doubles.
Yeah. Yeah, better call Saul. There you go.
Yeah, we need to freeze the ping pong balls, I think. I think that's the way to do it, right, Calvin?
So they are, I don't know what that means.
Like the frozen envelope.
Oh, okay.
You know, we need the frozen ping pong balls. Or we got to get Dan Gilbert's son or something to help us out, because that dude's
yeah,
like undefeated in the draft lottery. It's crazy. It's crazy. I want to know from you guys, who do you think the Kings are sending to the draft lottery this year? Was it Halliburton last season? I'm pretty sure it was him.
Maybe.
And then Vivek's daughter went.
Yeah.
Would they have like a GM go before? I don't know. But we need to get some luck here. We really need some luck. Or we need to make the playoffs. I don't know. I don't know. All right, Calvin, we ready to move on here?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
You're done talking about playoffs?
I can't talk about playoffs just yet. I can barely talk about the playing game.
All right, guys, it's break time again. But when we come back, we're going to take a look at the Kings' next week of basketball with Kings Crusade. Welcome to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans by fans. The Kings continue their crusade to possibly make it to the play-in or back to the playoffs. Next up is the Dallas Mavericks. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button down below, and please consider subscribing to the channel. Calvin, we get to see our favorite player, Luka Doncic, in the next game. I know it's still a sore subject for a lot of Kings fans, but I've moved on. How about you?
Have you?
I don't know.
I don't know if any Kings fan has moved on. Somebody just said, who was it? Oh, yeah, Jeff the lefty. Ping pong balls fell right in the Luka draft.
Yeah, they did.
Perfect segue. Here
They
we go
did.
again. We're playing Luka Doncic. That guy's incredible.
So
I
here-
didn't even realize the type of numbers he was putting up this season.
Here's my question
look
for
at his
you.
stats and you're like, what the?
If the Kings had
Almost a
won
30-point triple-double.
the lottery outright and they got the number 1 pick, are they still taking Bagley number 1? Because I honestly thought the Suns were going to take Doncic. They hired his coach. I thought they were going to draft him number 1 overall. So if you're Sacramento and you do get the number 1 pick, you think they're still taking Bagley?
I don't know. I'm sure it would have changed their thought process, but I don't know who they would have taken.
Okay. Good to know. All right, let's jump here in your keys to the
I'm
game.
not sure what you want from me at that point.
I mean, I don't know.
So my keys to the game here, number 1 is going to be outside shooting. You know, the Kings, obviously, they're much, much better.
Ramon, dude, let's send the puke guy to the draft
There you
lottery.
go.
Yes.
Puke guy draft lottery.
I would love it. If we don't get the first, second, or third pick, puke all over the table.
Exactly. He'll just puke on them, whoever
Yeah.
gets the first pick. Key number 1 is outside shooting. And the Kings obviously do a much better job or are much more competitive when they're hitting their outside shots. Dallas is a sneaky good defensive team. They're number 2 in the NBA in opponents scoring at 103 points per game. They're 4th in the NBA in opponents' three-point percentage and 3rd fewest three-point attempts allowed per game. Number 2 is going to be win the turnover battle. Again, it's another common story with the Kings. How well do they take care of the ball? If they are, under 14 turnovers, that they're usually pretty good or have a much better chance of winning. And Dallas is 3rd in the NBA in turnovers at just under 12 per game. The Kings are 20th in the NBA at almost 14 a game. And then number 3 is going to be fast break points and transition offense. We saw it today with the Kings. They were able to get out and start the break early on because they were getting defensive stops, getting rebounds, forcing turnovers. Their offense is tailor-made to play fast, but one of the best ways to start that or to get opportunities to play fast is to play defense and get stops. So that is obviously goes hand in hand.
Yeah, the Mavericks defeat the Golden State Warriors tonight, 122-113. They're playing big basketball, Calvin. Luka Doncic, 41 points tonight, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. We saw them ship away the zinger during the NBA trade deadline. They brought back Spencer Dinwiddie, 17 points for him tonight. The Mavericks are a little bit better than the Kings. They're currently in 5th place in the Western Conference.
Just a little
They're 13 games above 500. I was looking here at the standings, Calvin. It's pretty interesting. This is the first time in a while that I've seen that the top 8 teams in both conferences are all over 500. That's weird, right? Like, normally you'd think to be a playoff team, you need to be above 500.
Yeah.
But with the play-in, potentially New Orleans, potentially the Lakers, potentially the Kings could make the playoffs.
Yep.
10-plus games below 500.
We've seen, in recent years, a bunch of teams in the Eastern Conference, those 7 and 8 seeds make the playoffs with sub-500 records. But the East is so much better this year. So.
And you remember the We Believe Warriors team that upset the Mavericks in the first round? 8 seed. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the Porzingis deal? You like that for the Mavericks? You think they're a better team with Spencer Dinwiddie? I know he hasn't been healthy. I'm talking about Porzingis. Hasn't been healthy, especially in the playoffs
Spencer
for them.
Dinwiddie hasn't been healthy a lot either.
Yeah. How do you feel like this trade affects this Dallas team through the rest of the season?
Well, I think it's still to be determined. Dallas has kind of surprised me this year. I expected them to be a playoff team, but I didn't expect them to be this good defensively. And I think the move is good for them overall. I don't know about Spencer Dinwiddie with them long term, but I think that Porzingis and Doncic together, it looked great on paper, but it just wasn't working the way that they envisioned it. So I think it was a good decision for the Mavericks to move on from him.
Yeah, I really liked Porzingis a lot, but yeah.
I'm not picking them to come out of the West.
The best ability is availability, and the Kings actually had a chance to trade De'Aaron Fox for Porzingis, and then we would have drafted Doncic, and we would have tried the Doncic-Porzingis combo, which I really liked, but it didn't work out for the Dallas Mavericks. Looking here at the next few games for Sacramento, they take on the Mavericks, as we mentioned, on Saturday. Then on Monday, they are back home against the Knicks. Wednesday against the Nuggets. Then you head to Utah to face the Jazz. Back home against the Bulls. Then you have the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Suns all at home as well.
That's going to be a fun stretch.
That is a ton of tough games. I mean, you look here, Mavericks, good team. Knicks, they've been underperforming this year, but they're a better team than Sacramento. The Nuggets, the Kings just lost to them. Then you got the Jazz. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with Gobert and Mitchell.
Even Boston, who got off to a really
team.
slow start this year, they've been killing it lately. Jason Tatum Jaylen Brown is hurt now, but Jason Tatum's been on fire. They've played so much better since the All-Star break.
Then you got the Chicago Bulls that just about a week ago. They were on the top of the East. Then you have the reigning champs, the Bucks, then the Celtics, the Suns, who were in the finals last year.
Yep.
Oh, man, it is a very, very tough stretch of games. Man. Jonathan, the hecklers behind Katie tonight made me laugh when they said, we want Tyrese and we miss Buddy. I heard that. I was watching TV. Yeah. I was like, we want Tyrese back. I'm like, you're not in Sacramento. What's going on here? But it was interesting. There were quite a lot of Kings fans in the stands tonight in San Antonio. I was surprised.
Yeah, there's Kings fans all over the place, I guess. Nobody likes to drink alone, right?
Jay Drew says, breaking, Woj reports Nick Stauskas signs 2-year deal with the Celtics.
Today. Yeah, so apparently he scored 100 points in 2 straight G League games, had 57 one night and 43 the other night.
Back-to-back games. Okay. I thought you were like 100 in both, like in each game.
Combined.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Vivek will be happy to see him because I still remember him at the draft table. Stauskas.
Well, I don't know if he'll still be with the Celtics by the time the Kings play.
2-year deal, he says.
Oh, it's a 2-year? I thought it was a 10-day deal, 10-day contract.
I don't know. But that'd be exciting. I mean, I always root for guys, just not when they're playing against Sacramento. Unless we're trying to go for the pick, and I don't even know what I'm rooting for at this point. But the Kings win tonight. That's the most important thing. All right, Calvin, we ready to wrap up the show here? You got anything else you want to talk about?
Kings win. I think we can celebrate and call it a day, right? until the next game.
Yeah, Felipe says, yes, it is a 2-year deal. So hopefully we will get to see him in person on the 18th when we are in Sacramento. And hopefully we will see you all there as well. Thank you guys for watching another Royal Rebounds podcast. Make sure you check us out tomorrow for another episode of the Royal Report where we break down an entire week of Kings action in about 30 minutes. And then we will be here. We will give you another shoulder to cry on Saturday after the next game. And, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Have a wonderful evening. And in the meantime, go Kings.